Jesus will sit on the great white throne. In Revelation 20:11, we are given a vision of the final judgment. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. This passage describes a moment of ultimate authority and divine justice, where all humanity will stand before the throne to be judged. But here's the critical question. If Jesus isn't God, why does he sit on the final judgment throne? Tonight, we will explore this claim, examine its significance, and challenge skeptics and non-believers to confront this undeniable truth. The Bible consistently teaches that God alone is the ultimate judge of all creation. In Psalm 56, it is written, "The heavens proclaim his righteousness, for he is a God of justice." Yet, in the New Testament, we see that Jesus is given the role of final judge. In John 5:22, Jesus says, "The Father judges no one, but has entrusted all judgment to the Son." This is a staggering claim. No mere human or angel could be entrusted with such a responsibility. Only someone who is equal with God could sit on the throne of final judgment. Skeptics often argue that Jesus was just a moral teacher or a prophet. But no prophet or teacher could claim the authority to judge all humanity. The role of final judge belongs to God alone. By sitting on the great white throne, Jesus is asserting his divine authority. This is not a role that can be delegated to a created being. It is a role that only God can fulfill. If Jesus were not God, his position as judge would be impossible. But if he is God, then his authority is absolute and his judgment is just. To the skeptics and non-believers listening tonight, I pose this challenge. Disprove this claim. If Jesus is not God, then explain why he sits on the great white throne of judgment. Explain why the Bible repeatedly affirms that Jesus will judge the living and the dead. Acts 10:42, 2 Timothy 4:1. Explain how his life, death, and resurrection could fulfill hundreds of prophecies and establish his authority as the final judge. If Jesus is not God, then provide an alternative explanation that accounts for the evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. Jesus' role as judge is not an isolated idea. Throughout Scripture, we see him demonstrating divine authority, forgiving sins, commanding nature, raising the dead, and accepting worship. These actions are not the works of a mere man, they are the works of God. In Revelation 5, Jesus is depicted as the Lamb who is worthy to open the scrolls of judgment, a role that only God can fulfill. These truths point to one undeniable conclusion: Jesus is God, and he alone has the authority to judge the world. Perhaps you're thinking, but what if I'm wrong? What if Jesus really is who he says he is? That's a question worth considering. Because if he is, then your eternal destiny hinges on how you respond to him. The great white throne is not just a symbol of judgment, it's a reminder of accountability. It's an invitation to turn to Jesus now, to accept his forgiveness and grace, and to be prepared for the day when all will stand before him. But the choice is yours. Will you accept his authority, or will you continue to deny the truth? Tonight, I leave you with this challenge. Examine the evidence. Wrestle with the claims of Christ. Seek the truth with an open heart and mind, because the stakes are too high to ignore. Jesus will sit on the great white throne because he is God, the final judge of all creation. The question is, will you be ready to stand before him? The choice is yours. Choose wisely.